The finals begin Thursday, but the Warriors are going up on a Tuesday. You saw KD. You see Chef Curry with the shot board. Maybe those are some extra plates for Boogie. And then you see Klay Thompson. All three of those gentlemen have scored 50 points this season. What will they do against Toronto? Can't wait to see on Thursday. But in the meantime, you are now rocking with the best. Game Time is the program. Ro Parrish is your host. Smitty ready to shoot at the two. And speaking of shots, plenty of shots thrown at Magic in a story published by ESPN Tuesday morning. Magic Johnson reacted earlier to the accusations made in the report.
I'm a person who brings everybody together, uplift the employees. I've never abused an employee, and I never will. That's not what I'm all about. Now, Rich Paul had access to the Lakers because he had two clients with the Lakers. He called and said, hey, I'm in Brooklyn. We talked about allowing him to fly back with the team. That's the only time he flew with the team because he was in Brooklyn, and I allowed him to do it. That was on me. I allowed him to do that. Then let's go to, Rob and I, when we were there, we worked well together. But the little thing that was going on behind the scene, that bothered me. And last but not least, lazy. I have built a $600 million business. You cannot be lazy going from playing basketball and winning 5 championships. So I wasn't lazy as a player, and I'm not lazy as a CEO and a business owner. That's never going to happen. It's okay if you want to try to lie on Magic, go ahead. But I know the truth. Jeannie knows the truth, because if I had disrespected somebody, she would have called me in her office, and that never happened. HR would have called me. It never happened. 2 years, never.
Magic Johnson right there earlier addressing everything that was in the article. Smitty, you go back with Magic decades upon decades. You witness what happened earlier. You read the article. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, the first thing is always two sides to a story. And one thing about Irvin, and if you know him well, like I know him, you call him Buck. The one thing Buck is going to be accountable. And he's been accountable in the soundbite we had, and obviously you get a chance to see the entire, conversation he had with Michael Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith. He's going to be accountable. He talked about that was on me with the Rich Paul, but he said never happened with employees. Never been in HR for 2 years with that organization, even went on to say some other organizations. And he said Jeannie Buss knows the truth. So for him to come out and to defend himself that way, the only thing we can sit back and say is now they have to dig more. But on that part of the employment side with all the employees, he said it never happened. Whether it happened or not, he said Jeannie knows the truth and he was never called in. So this will play out. The other part is the basketball.
Yes, the Can we get to that, please? Because free agency, we all know that's coming soon. Whether the Lakers go from here, it seems like we don't know who's in charge. What's happening right now if you're a free agent? Do you even want to entertain going to the Lakers?
Ro, you said it best. Who's in charge? Who's making decisions? It's been obviously very dysfunctional. And I think even before we got to now, it was dysfunctional when Rob and also Magic took over. Magic said his best. If he could do it all over again, he should have been able to hire his own people. And I thought that's where Magic should have came in, not under the organization in this type of format, because it seemed like they came in together and they both had split power. If you're coming in, if you're Magic Johnson, I know if he could want to do it over again, he would want to hire his people, GM on down. He didn't get that chance, and obviously we saw the dysfunction of this organization, and it still starts from right now from the top. I would love right now to hear from Jeannie Buss how the Lakers organization will be ran, how is it going, and she doesn't have to, but we want to hear this because right now there's so much dysfunction. Want to know who's making this decision and who's going to be the guy other than Rob Pelinka that can get this organization back on the right track. And next is, can they acquire that type of free agent that we know to get the Lakers over the hump? Now, we're not saying get to the playoffs, to get to the Western Conference Finals or more and be able to get them back to where we all knew the Lakers belong, is championship aspirations.
You mentioned Jeannie Buss. We haven't heard from her. She wasn't present for the exit interviews. She wasn't there when they hired Frank Vogel. We haven't heard anything from her. We haven't heard from LeBron other than his post on social media. We haven't heard any one of them say anything addressing any of these issues.
Yeah, and this is a Laker organization. When you start talking about the pillars, I mean, the pillars is Kareem, is Magic, and those two guys are not around right now. Next is LeBron James as a player. Hasn't been there long, but you want to hear from him which way it's going. Next is also Kobe. I want to hear from Kobe Bryant. What's his thoughts on everything going with the Lakers? And more importantly, ownership, Jeannie Buss. Jeannie Buss, love to hear from us. When you're winning, you can sit back, collect trophies, But when you have this type of dysfunction, we'd love to see how she explains everything and what's going forward, because we know what's everything is going in the past, but now let's talk about the plan going forward.
We all know the Lakers is the best reality show going right now in television, but now on the news about things happening on the court. The NBA Finals, the festivities kick off Thursday. The Warriors have played the last 26 quarters without KD and will continue to do so in Game 1. However, will he be making the trip to the Six? Of course he is. Saw him get on the plane earlier. So, Smitty, what does this tell you that he's making the trip about how close he is to returning?
There's a possibility that he might be returning. And I think if you're the Raptors, you're probably looking at saying, Raptors fans that wish he was not making the trip, because then you understand you have 2 games where he will not play. From what I'm hearing, he's ruled out of Game 1. But there's that possibility that he's in Game 2, or there's a possibility that maybe 3 or 4. And the one thing about Kevin Durant, one of the best in the business, Ro, if you take Kawhi Leonard, most likely, we all know he'll be matched up against Kevin Durant. You can put Siakam on him, but if it's Kevin Durant's ready to go, I think you have to guard him with Kawhi Leonard. And what that does is it takes your second best defender to guard Steph, your third best defender on Clay. That gives you a disadvantage if you go up against a team like the Golden State Warriors, if he plays.
If he does play. KD out, however, Boogie listed as questionable. He's got to run and practice, and he's been out since the first round. He's already missed the majority of the season. He's been out since the first round. You know, he was viewed as the sprinkles that were going to be on top of the cupcake for the Warriors this season. So what situations do you see him being most effective, or do the Dubs even need him right now?
Well, you always need a player like DeMarcus Cousins because of the talent. But you want to have a DeMarcus Cousins where he's ready to contribute. And I look at DeMarcus Cousins, he had just come off that injury. He was starting to get in form, and then he has this, quad injury. Now the one thing for him is if he's able to play, it doesn't have to be big minutes. Those are the minutes where if you are Steve Kerr, you can throw him in for 4 or 5 minutes here and there, especially in situations where the pace is slowed down and you have an advantage where Boogie Cousins, because of the size and skill, he can draw a double team, he can rebound. And if you draw a double team, that means you're kicking it out to some guys that's going to get open shots like Steph and Clay if Kevin Durant is not playing. And if Kevin Durant is playing, you have 3 guys that maybe get open shot. Doesn't bode well for a team. But if you're the Toronto Raptors, you have so much momentum coming in. You got to believe in yourself to come out and see if you can dethrone the Warriors.
Speaking of Toronto, they swept the season series against the Warriors, including a 20-point blowout in December. That was an oracle. By the way, Kawhi didn't play in that game. But you know who did play? KD, Steph Curry, Clay, and Draymond. So how can Toronto build off those regular season wins? And since we're here, let's go ahead and get Smitty's keys to the Raptors winning the NBA championship.
Well, I think, first of all, if you watch the Raptors in this entire Eastern Conference final, they must control the pace as much as possible. There's going to be times where Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, and Nick Nurse, you're definitely going to have to run. You're going to have to push the pace. But there's time when things are not going well, you can't play Warriors basketball. You got to come down and slow it down. And so a pace at different times, it can't be one speed. We're going to outrun the Warriors, or we're going to make the Warriors slow down. It's going to have to pick your poison depending on what they have on the court, depending on the personnel that you have on the court, and the way the flow of the game is going. You have to rebound this basketball. If you're going to play big with Serge and also Marc Gasol, you can't be out there if you're not going to punish them playing small ball, so rebound the basketball. Excellent role transition defense.
Yes.
So what's so hard about the Warriors? It can't be me and you, Ro, talking about which one you got. You got Curry, you got Clay, and you all mixed up. You're giving up a wide open 3 or a layup. And last but not least, if you're going to play this lineup, you got to commit to it. You can't go away from it if you're going to play big.
Definitely have to play big. We always play big, and we're going to be doing that because the NBA Finals coverage from Toronto begins right here on NBA TV Wednesday at 1 Eastern with media availability. You got Matt Weiner, 3DZ, Grant Hill, the Hall of Famer, and of course, Jared Greenberg, who has that best hair in the game. Next, are the Warriors a dynasty, or do they have to win one more for that validation? We'll discuss, and we invite you to stick around with us on Get Everybody's Opinion. So, Smitty, I have to ask you, what constitutes a dynasty in your opinion, and do the Warriors meet that criteria?
I think it's a prolonged run of successful seasons, and I look at them and I would say, yes, they're a dynasty. I think there'll be some question marks if they don't win, and there'll be a debate. But if they win the entire thing this year, Ro, I think you've got to say they're definitely a dynasty. And the reason why is, and you saw all the greats talk about the reason why. I love what Isaiah said. They're an old school team with new school players, but I also say they have a high basketball IQ. Love what Rick Barry said. They are unselfish. They really are, because all these guys could average more, have more individual accolades, but they know they want to do it as a team. And was a team was built from scratch. And yes, you added Kevin Durant and maybe DeMarcus Cousins, but the core of this team was built from scratch, and they have unselfish guys. And what I love is they've getting it done. We talk about their offense, but it's their passing, their little things, playing through injuries, and also for me is defending and stopping teams and going on those runs. They are a dynasty. Will be a little question mark if they don't win it, but definitely you stamp approval if they win it. They go 3 straight.
You heard it right there. So they could be the first team to win 4 titles in 5 years. The 1969 Celtics were the last team to complete that feat. Well, it's time to check out the handles of the conference finals presented by Kumho Tire. Something that hasn't happened since the 1950s. The Raptors have no top 10 picks on the roster. Little success signing free agents, but they still managed to build a championship caliber roster. Plenty of depth, veterans with playoff and championship experience. Marc Gasol and Kyle Lowry were once teammates in Memphis. Gave their thoughts on this topic.
I don't know what to say about the draft. Who picks it? I don't know. I was at the back end of the draft, so I was already asleep when the time they picked me, so I can't really tell you much. I think it tells you more about how much of a lottery the draft is, and how much more important is to put the work in every day and continue to improve as a player. I think that's what it says more about.
Just a bunch of professionals, a bunch of guys that go out there and play hard, enjoy the game of basketball, and we know this is our job and we love it and it's fun. And picks don't mean anything, you got some top picks that make, but for us it's just about being a team. It's not about 1 or 2 individuals, it's about a 15-man roster.
There you see Kyle Lowry and Marc Gasol, who, like I said, were once teammates in Memphis. Now they're teammates for Toronto. So we always talk about Danny Ainge and seeing how he's been able to finagle and make moves, but it seems like, maybe it's just my personal opinion, but Masai Ujiri doesn't get the credit seeing what he's been able to do with this roster.
And you're totally right, Ro. I think Masai Ujiri has done a fantastic job, not only when you start talking about selecting a lot of these players that's wasn't in the lottery, so you have to be able to see something that other teams don't see in organizations. And then next, you have to have the coaching staff, Nick Nurse, give him a lot of credit. We have to also throw in Dwayne Casey because he had a lot of those players. And then there's player development. And that's where Jamal McGlory, Phil Handy, those guys, Adrian Griffin, and that coaching staff, assistant coaches. But Masai Ujiri, you said it best, Ro. We haven't talked about him enough. And then let's also talk about pulling the trigger on firing the coach of the year and bringing up the assistant Nick Nurse. So Masai gets all the credit because he's going to get all the blame if this thing hadn't worked out. But you got to give him a lot of credit, what he's done and what he saw and the guys he have around, the guys to develop and also coach these guys who are now in the NBA Finals.
And it's also ironic seeing that Jonas Valanciunas, who was moved for Marc Gasol, was a top 5 pick, and they move him out now. Like we said earlier, they have no top 10 picks. Looking at it, Kawhi Leonard, the 15th pick, that's the highest pick that they have on the roster. Well, we've been all awaiting Smitty's prediction for the finals. They are coming after this break. That's Steph Curry with the Shot Boy. Going, we've had plenty of Lakers talk in this episode, so we can't go without mentioning the logo. Hall of Famer, the 81st birthday to Jerry West, Mr. Clutch.
I mean, you talk about a guy that Mr. Clutch is your nickname.
Yeah.
You're the logo, and you're the birthday. You see the logo behind us?
Listen.
81, still looking spry, doing a great job with the Clippers, been a fantastic executive. Happy birthday to the logo. Also, I got a shout out to a family member of mine, Vicky Palmer. Good friend of mine, birthday is same as the logo.
Shout out to her. Now, we saw the WNBA change their logo. Is there any way you think that logo should ever be changed?
If it does, it got to be that guy, Michael Jordan.
Okay,
for sure, if it does.
I kind of like this one. So, finals prediction. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Smitty, we want to know your prediction. Who you got?
I think if KD is healthy, he gets the chance to play. Warriors in 6. If not, he's not healthy and he doesn't play 2 or 3 games and not really ready to go, I have the Warriors in 7.
Okay, all right.
So I think the Toronto Raptors is going to make this a series.
Can't wait to see it. It starts on Thursday. That's enough for us. That's our time. I'm Ro Parrish. He's Steve Smith. It's game time. We're out of here. We'll see you soon.